Hey guys, welcome to another Homelab Series video today. In today's video, we'll be having a lot of fun with asciinema. I think it's how you kind of say it. It's ASCII with cinema all combined and jumbled together, so it's one word. So you get the ASCII part and then the cinema part, so it's asciinema. I'm totally botching it 100%. But it's actually pretty cool because it's actually used so that you can record your terminal screen session so that you can replay back in its own player and people can watch it, so you can use it as like self-documentation, and it's nice because you can show the commands that are running, but it also displays the output of the commands too. So if you're like one of those guys that are like, I'm really bad at really doing documentation, this is actually a really neat way, especially if you spend most of your time in the terminal, to just record the session and add it into your documentations of this is how I did something without too much explanation. So they also do have a public server that you can upload videos to. Most likely I wouldn't recommend it if you're using it in any environment, unless you have things that you're trying to just say, hey, I don't care who watches it. But in this video, we'll show you how you can self-host it so that you can save your videos in your own home lab or in your own corporate network if you decide you want to save things in your own private network. So let's get started. Alright, so first thing that we want to do, because we're going to want to self-host this, is actually go and create a virtual machine that will allow us to run it. So in this case, we will create a new DNS entry for this. So we'll add a new DNS entry in my zone file in GitLab, which will then deploy out and update my DNS. So we'll name it asciinema, is how it's spelled. And we'll just use the next IP in this list, so 112. So add asciinema. We'll save that. And then what we'll also do is add it to our Ansible inventory to allow us to run our playbooks to configure the server after it gets created on our vCenter. So we just need to add it to our inventory file here. And we're just, and it's just the same as the DNS entry. So asciinema, add asciinema, and we'll commit that. And that's pretty much the main gist of what we need to do with GitLab to prep for our automation on creating this virtual machine. From there, we'll go to our AWX instance, which essentially is similar to Ansible Tower, to essentially run our playbooks. I created a workflow that would essentially cover the whole, creating a new virtual machine, patching it, installing Docker and Docker Compose, creating certs, and setting up Nginx for the service. So in this case, that's what the workflow we're going to use is. So we'll launch the template here. So the host name will just be asciinema. The IP will be the 112 that we added to the DNS. The VM name is just whatever you want it to be in vCenter, so we just do that. And the proxy address. So in this case, I'm not going to worry too much about setting it up with SSL because then I have to trust my CA cert using step CA and all that. So we're going to show you just in this video without the SSL, but you can easily set up, if you already have SSL and you have trusted certs and stuff like that with Let's Encrypt, you can definitely do that, use Nginx and set it up. So it's pretty easy. But if you were to do it and you wanted to use Nginx, you can go look at asciinema getting started, Googling it, and the getting started guide actually has a pretty self-explanatory Docker Compose file that will run the server on 4000 and Postgres. So in this case, if we were to really want to set up SSL, we just do HTTP localhost 4000. And then we'll hit next and launch. So this just takes, a few minutes to kind of go through it. There really isn't much to it. If you are interested in seeing what, these playbooks do very specifically, feel free to check out my automation playlist series. I go through each one of these playbooks to kind of show you how I do it and how I integrate them all together, which is really neat, especially when you're automating a, specific build or whatnot. But from here, we can take a look back at the documentation. So you got a few things here. So you can install it via pipx apt because you're doing to Pacman, Homebrew. There's other installations. I believe also if you're still using RHEL, you can just use yum install asciinema. So it's still pretty simple. And then there's just easy documentation that you'll upload or whatnot. The thing that you'll want to take into consideration here is essentially after running this Docker file, you need to any host that you're running, you'll need to set up the asciinema export environmental variable, which is the API URL to set to the server that you're running on. So there isn't too much to it besides setting that. And the one thing to note with this is only for that one session. So you want to add it into like your bash profile, bash RC, to persist on new logins. Okay, so we'll let this finish up and then we'll continue and show you the rest of the installation for this video. Alright, so it failed on creating the cert because I actually didn't have the server up. I had to do some maintenance on it, but we don't really care about that in this specific scenario, so we're not going to sweat it and I'll fix that later. But you can see that it did get patched and Docker Compose is installed, which are two key components for this to work because we will be using the Docker Compose files. So the thing that we want to do is log in to our server. So asciinema dragon.local. We'll accept the fingerprint and log in. So you can see Docker's installed. It's all in there. So what we want to do is go back to the configuration, copy the Docker Compose file that is in there getting started, create the file called docker-compose.yaml and paste it in here. There really isn't anything to really change or need to change, so you can just leave everything as default. But in case you do want to change something and it's like set passwords, you can too. So we'll save that, and then we'll do a Docker Compose up and -d for detached mode, so that it will run in the background once it starts running. So this will just take a few seconds. The container images aren't too big, so it shouldn't take too long. And then what we'll want to do is we'll need to run this, except in this case, because we'll run the commands on the same machine, we can use localhost, but for the most part, you'll probably want to use the DNS entry for this instead. So what we'll do is actually just copy like most of it, and then what we want to do is paste that, and we will say asciinema.dragon.local on 4000. So with this, you can kind of see that it is running, it is up. There is a web GUI interface, so this is where it gets cool, where you can see dragon.local on 4000. Where you can see things get actually posted here, and then you can watch it in here. So this is kind of like the documentation where you can use the GUI to kind of see, hey, here's a video on how you can do it. The cool thing is you can do embed this image as a link using HTML or Markdown, or you can use the embedded player. So there's a lot of things to actually make this work in your documentation if you decide to do so. But what we'll show you here is how to actually run it and use it. So what we'll need to do is yum y install asciinema. So we'll install this piece of software that actually runs it. So once that is completed, we can now run the command to essentially start the record and then upload. So we'll do asciinema REC for the record and democast. So the democast is just the file name. So we just do asciinema and then record and then democast in this case. So as you can see, it records. You can do Control D or type exit when you're done. It just essentially shows you echo, this is awesome, type situation, and then we'll hit like exit. So there really isn't too much to it. But now you should be able to see that there is a democast file out here. So you can actually, before you upload it, you can actually run the play command too. So you can do asciinema play democast, and you can actually see it play. Supposedly. Well, maybe play is not the right one. Let's look at the documentation. I thought it was play. Yeah, it is play. Oh, there it is. It just took a few seconds. So it actually does record the time that it takes for you to write the command too. So because I was giving the full introduction and saying there really wasn't anything that was being said, being done. So that's why I was like, wait, what happened? But yeah, so it shows you this and exits essentially. So then you can do the upload. Asciinema upload. What was it? Was it upload? I think it was upload. Yeah, upload and demo.cast. So now you can see that you can view the recording at this, which in this case, because it's on the same server, it would be localhost, but because I need to change this. So asciinema 4000, and then we'll just copy and paste everything after the end of that. So copy that, and here we go. Slash there we go. So you can see with this link we can watch it in this player. So there's a play button. It's like your any player. You got the play. You got the bar at the bottom that loads. You can see the typing, and it actually types in the time that it took me to type it. And you can see the output. The cool thing about this is this player you can still copy and paste from. So like say for example I wanted to copy this, right? I can copy this and run it, right? Paste and run it. So this is actually still very useful for like documentation, whatnot in this GUI, because it's still user friendly to say, oh, okay, I can run this command. I should expect this output, run that command. So yeah, this is really useful, especially if you're trying to like learn from another person that's doing Linux and they have like these like crazy commands and you're like, wait, what did you do? So that they can record and you can kind of just look and be like, okay, what was the thought process? How did they come up with this? It took me a while to like learn awk and sed and like be like fluent at it without needing to Google it. And I'm like, man, if I just had like people who like had more examples, I'd be like, okay, that's pretty awesome. So, but this is a good way to just like document some of the stuff that you might do at your work in your home lab, and just keep it so that you can be like, okay, how did I set up a Splunk server, and watch myself set it up. So that's pretty much it for this video. So if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.